Welcome back to the Nerdrotic channel. My name is Gary Beekler. I am live in San Francisco, California, and I come to you from nerdrotic.com. And tonight is the season finale of Better Call Saul, season 4, episode 10, Winner. And I don't feel like a winner from watching this episode. Now, it was good, but it was dark, and this was a really morose season. Unlike last season, where there was kind of like, I don't know, they had a mid-season a plot point that really that really brought things up, kept the energy going for the season. This one just kind of went all the way through on its downward spiral. It was an entertaining downward spiral, but it ended in complete darkness. And we knew this was coming. This is a tragic series, but god damn, that was dark. And we had the birth of Saul Goodman at the end. So before I go much further, I was looking for my spoiler alert. So beyond this point, I will be spoiling the episode. I'll be doing a brief recap. Then we'll get to you in the chat and discuss the season finale, where we go from here. And wow. So we start out the episode with a flashback. We see Chuck again, and he's vouching for Jimmy as he becomes a lawyer. Then they go out for karaoke. They sing a little bit there with Kim. Chuck is about to leave early because he's kind of antisocial in that way. He doesn't kind of like to do the things Jimmy does. But they end up going on stage together, and he has to drag Chuck up on stage, and they're singing ABBA. And we get a little, Spinal Tap, Michael McKean singing some ABBA. And at first he's really reluctant, but then he gets into it, where he takes the mic from Jimmy at one point and starts singing the song. And then we see them go home, and Chuck is carrying a very drunk Jimmy in, and he's, proud of being a lawyer, and he's all McGill, and he's, doing the typical drunk talk. And we see this like nice little scene of brotherly love. Chuck puts him to bed, and they're both sleeping in the same bed because they're shit-faced, and they start singing a song together. And it was a really nice moment in a show that was not going to have any more of those for the rest of this episode anyway. So we get to excuse me, gosh darn it. So we get to current times now, which is because that was a flashback within a flashback of a prequel. Are we all following that? Okay, good. So we get to current times now, and Mike is on the hunt for Werner. Werner has a 3.5-hour head start on him, and he sends his guys out, and he starts making phone calls, does what he needs to do. And he's also being watched. He's being watched by Lalo. So Jimmy is at Chuck's grave at this point, and this is the start of the con that Kim and Jimmy had worked out to try to get him back in the good graces of the board, because when he goes for his appeal to become a lawyer again. And Kim and Jimmy are combining their powers now. Previous episode, they talked about using their powers for good, and Jimmy really did try to talk her out of that, especially pointing out that, hey, you just used it to help yourself. But Kim saw that as using her powers for good by keeping her around, keeping her employed. And I agree with her on that one, although Jimmy didn't. And we're going to find out this whole episode was almost a con on us, a little fourth dimensional chess going on here. So he's at his brother's grave, and they set up this whole plan to do kind of a memorial of Chuck, and he's standing there, and he's all broken down, and there's friends of Chuck and clients showing up, and he's putting on this whole performance, and it's not very convincing. His fake crying is terrible. But then we see Jimmy walk back to the car in between it and go grab a bear claw, and tells Kim he needs some more coffee. And she asks, well, were you convinced? And he's all, well, I sounded sad. But we see the sociopath that's always been there. And it gets so much worse. So we also see that Lalo has been spying on Mike this whole time, and he sees everybody bugging out from Gus's warehouse in the middle of nowhere, and he wants to know what the hell's going on, so he starts following Mike. Mike finds out that he figures out that Werner probably needed some money, so he figured out, and it's probably not hard to figure out, that his wife had wired him some money. So he started calling some, check cashing places to see if anybody's done that. He finds out pretty easily because the wife is sending the money from Germany. He pinpoints one location and he hits him up. And Mike goes in there and pretty much makes up the story that it's his brother-in-law and he's diabetic and he's suffering from early onset dementia, and we're really worried about him. And at first the guy behind the desk is like, we really can't give client information. He's like, okay, cool. And he tries to lay it on a little more and the guy won't do it. So he's all, well, can you tell me where the nearest hospital is? And then the guy caves, at first he tells him that he was there and he missed him by an hour, but eventually he shows him video. Mike talks him into showing him video and to see if a cab had picked him up or something like that. But he couldn't see the car or what type of car it was. So Mike is still on the hunt. Then we go to Howard Hamlin, and they are at some party for a reading room that was done in Chuck's name. And we find out, we see the video crew that has cut commercials for Jimmy's commercials before. And when they mention, hey, who paid for this reading room for Chuck in Chuck's name, and they assumed it was Howard, and he's all, no, it was an anonymous donor. And then the people behind the camera go, I heard it was Jimmy McGill. And we know that the con is on, and they've got everybody there. And Jimmy is outside pretending to be grieving, even though it's been a year at this point, putting on this huge show. And we find out it cost $23,000 to get this reading room donated in Chuck's name. And this is, again, part of the long con to get him to be a lawyer again. And nobody from the board has even showed up at this point. This is all depending completely on word of mouth. But it's kind of genius because it's a small community. The lawyer community is a small community and not a semi big city, Albuquerque, but not a huge city. But yeah, it was good to see Howard Hamlin again. It was good to see Howard Hamlin. And, Jimmy's faking more sadness, and just the fact that how he turns it on and off is one of the funner things to watch in this show. The show is still fun. Although I didn't find this season as fun as previous seasons, and we know, where it's going to end up anyway, but still. So we see Mike on the phone, and he's trying to track down Ziegler, and he had sussed out that he had probably the guy at the check cashing place had mentioned that he said something in German that is hot springs. So Mike at the check cashing place, they have a bunch of tourist pamphlets. He grabs all the hot springs plus, and he starts making phone calls looking for Ziegler. And as he's doing this while he's driving, he notices he has a tail. So Lalo is a horrible tail, by the way. He's like, if there's a car in between him, he's like zigzagging out, and Mike obviously sees it. So he, makes a hard right turn, pulls into a pay parking lot, and just kind of sits there and waits. And he sees Lalo come in after him, sits there for a while. He starts chewing some gum, and then he spits it out. And when he opens his glove box, by the way, you see there's a gun there. They made a point to show that. And he pulls the chewing gum out, chews the gum, then puts it back in between the wrapper and sits there and waits a little bit. And then somebody leaves the parking lot. And right before that guy's going to pull out, Mike pulls out right ahead of him and kind of waves a little bit. And then Lalo comes out, but there's a car in between them. And then he gets to the pay parking thing. He puts in his ticket, and then he sticks in that stick of gum, and the parking thing comes down and it sticks with the car behind him. So Lalo is stuck behind him, and Mike just bailed, got rid of him. And Lalo, got impatient and rammed the guy's car, got out into the street, but Mike was gone and he completely lost him. So good on Mike. Good move. Then we see Jimmy with Howard Hamlin again, and he's on that board that his brother, that Chuck put him on, the scholarship board, and they're bringing in some kids and they're listening to them. And they had 6 kids and 3 scholarships to give out. They did the voting and they gave it to the top 3, but Jimmy voted for one girl who had a shoplifting charge against her. And, Jimmy definitely saw himself in this girl, like somebody that nobody will ever give a chance to. Somebody's going to be labeled like this forever. And, he talks Howard into re-voting for the girl, and of course she doesn't win. Jimmy runs out and talks to the little girl, Christie Espinoza, and he just unloads the weirdest speech on her, and it's all just about Jimmy, like, because everything is always about Jimmy. And he gives her this crazy manic speech about, you know what, you're always going to have this shoplifting charge against you, and they're always going to look at you that way, and it's never going to change. So you know what you do? Screw them. You do it anyway. You fight harder. They're on the 35th floor. You'll be on the 50th floor looking down at them. You punish them for how they're going to think of you. And she's just kind of looking at him and going, okay, dude, are you done yet? But it was really a great speech, but and scary nonetheless. So I kind of want to see what happens to Christie Espinoza if she listens to him or gets the hell out of the game at that point, going, this place is full of crazy people. Maybe I should think of a different profession, because I think she should, to be honest with you. So after Jimmy gives her that speech, he gets it's later in the evening. He gets in his car to take off, and his car won't start, and he's broken down in the parking lot, and he just breaks down. He completely breaks down and starts crying and completely loses it. And he's just screaming, no, no, no. And it kind of reminds me of that scene from Boogie Nights. I'm a fucking idiot. I'm an idiot. And any part of any human part of Jimmy might have died at that moment. And we will find out when I get through this recap a little bit. So we see Lalo ends up at the check cashing place with the kid. And starts with the story that Mike, he kind of goes along with the guy's like, hey, he's all, have you seen a old bald guy? He's all, yeah. Did he find his brother-in-law? He's all, no, he hasn't. We're really worried. Could you tell me where he is? And he says no, and he pulls a gun on him. And then later on, we see that Lalo actually shoots the poor kid, and he's going through the video. We even see somebody tapping on the store door, and it says closed, and he just gets him off. And you see a printout with Ziegler too. So he gets Ziegler's phone number. And poor Werner. Mike ends up so we see Werner at this point. And Werner is at the resort, and he's just getting some sun, and he gets a phone call, and the idiot answers the phone call. They're all, there's a call for Werner Ziegler, and he takes the call, and it's Lalo calling him, going, yeah, I work for Gus, and we're kind of wondering what's up. And Ziegler's all, are you guys mad? He's all, well, what do you think? And then Ziegler starts telling him about the structure, and the work will continue, and I'm only going to be gone for 4 days. And he's just talking way too much. Then Mike shows up, takes the phone from him, and puts it to his ear, and Lalo keeps talking. He's all, hey, Ziegler, are you there? And then he kind of susses out. He's all, Mike, is this Mike? And Mike's just, grinding his jaw and pissed off, and hangs up the phone, tells Werner to get dressed. We're out of here. And his wife is on the way, by the way. Now, Mike had earlier talked to Gustavo about, because Gustavo just wanted to take care of Mike and his wife right away. And Mike talked him out of it, going, let me find him. Okay, give me a chance to find him, and then we'll get him back to work, and he'll never see his wife. And at this point, Mike is trying to save Werner and his wife. That's the way I saw it anyway. So it's very unfortunate what happens to poor Werner. Jimmy and Jimmy are getting prepared again, and they're going to use Chuck's letter as kind of like their final part of this con to use at the hearing. So we end up in the hearing, and Jimmy starts to read the letter, gives this impassioned speech, and not really impassioned. He talks about how he's not going to do this, and he's not going to give him some prepared speech. He's going to basically just read Chuck's letter, and he starts reading it, and then he kind of backs off, and he goes, you know what? This letter's between me and him. So I'm not going to read it. And I was going to do it. And he was honest. He's like, I was going to do it to tug on your heartstrings. But the fact of the matter is this letter's between me and him. And then he starts talking about how he loved Chuck. And remember, the whole point of this was the reason he failed the last hearing was because he didn't bring up Chuck, and Chuck is kind of legend in that town, and everybody knows Jimmy's related to him. So for him not to mention him was kind of odd. So they found him as insincere. So he's trying to pretend to be sincere, and he does a great job. He gives this really impassioned speech about his brother and how his brother's, kind of an asshole sometimes, but he's my brother. He loved me in his own way. But he's also, the reason I became a lawyer. And by the end of the speech, he had the board in tears, and he knew he completely got it. So the next scene, we see Kim and Jimmy in the hallway, and Jimmy's all, "I fucking nailed it." And Kim's all, "You did it. I'm so proud of you." And then Jimmy just goes into something that it immediately starts horrifying Kim. He's all, "Yeah, did you see those? One of those assholes had a tear in his eye, the suckers." And she just freezes up right then. He's all, "Man, I was just flowing. It was like jazz. I thought I was going to read the letter, and I didn't think it was a good idea. And you were right. You were right. That letter, it was all about Chuck." And he's all, "God damn, I did it." And then a lady comes out, and she's like, "Oh, you're still here." And he's all, "I already know. I got it. It's sealed." And she's all, "Yeah, you did. You got it. You're a lawyer again." He's all, "Great. Let's start filling out the paperwork. And I'm also going to need a DBA because I'm not going to be practicing under the name McGill." And, Kim goes, "What?" And he just turns around and goes, "Saul Goodman." And the camera just backs out with a just stunned Kim. And that's where it ends with Jimmy. There's one more scene with Mike that happens previous to this. And I wanted to end with this because this is fucked up. And I wanted to hear what you guys think. So Mike ends up going to Mike and Werner end up driving up to the warehouse, and he calls Gus, tells him he has him. But he also tells Gus that Lalo somebody made contact with Ziegler, and he asked Gus if he knew who it was, and he said yes. And he said, "Okay, I'll bring him in." And Gus goes, "Nope, leave him there." And we all know what that meant. He's all, "Are you sure this is going to be a mistake?" He's all, "Leave him there." He's all, "There's another way we can go about this." And Gus is all, "I know you would think that, but it's really pointless to have this conversation. Leave him there." And then Mike goes, "I'll do it." And Gus says, "Are you sure?" And he's all, "Yep." And hangs up the phone. And at that point, I'm thinking, well, he's saving Gus from probably a painful, torturous death, but Gus is a dead man. Not Gus is a dead man. Werner is a dead man at that point. And Mike is just pissed and bummed. But and this is where we lose Mike. This is the point where Mike becomes Mike from Breaking Bad, I assume, because this is his first, kill outside of the job. And he goes out there, he pleads with Werner, he tells him, like, "What was your end game, dude? What were you thinking?" And he's all, I was just gonna go out for 4 days and come back. Everything was gonna be fine." And he still didn't get it. He just, poor Werner was just in way over his head. He had no idea who he was dealing with. And Mike even tells him, like, Werner says, "I was going to go out for 4 days and come back, and my friend Mike was going to be angry with me, but then forgive me." And Mike's like, "It was never up to me, dude." And at some point, Werner kind of figures out what the fuck's up. He makes a phone call to his wife to tell her that he's not in New Mexico. He was never working there. He was never anywhere, to try to get her to just go back. He hangs up the phone. They go for a little walk, and Mike plugs him in the head, and Werner is dead. Now, Mike had given his word that the wife would be okay and, be told of what happened, and somewhat of what happened, and the boys would be okay. Even Kai, who, like, it really indirectly kind of caused all this mess by causing all the work to go longer and everything. Although we thought it was going to be Kai, the one who gets plugged. I'm still not sure. So sure, the rest of them will make it. I'm just assuming. I don't know. We also get one more scene. It was a very quiet scene with that crazy chemist talking to Gus down in, which I know he shows up in Breaking Bad. I completely blanking on his name right now. And they're in the warehouse, and they're in the bottom of the warehouse where Walter White's future, meth lab is going to be. And he's like, "Oh, this will really work. This is great." And of course, he's talking too much because he's manic. Gus isn't saying much, and he kind of picks up on that and finally leaves. And he sees Mike. And Mike and Gus just stare at each other, and then they just kind of walk away. So that was the only ending scene for Mike. The show actually did end with Saul saying "Saul Goodman," and that was it. That was it. So I'm wondering what you guys are thinking. Getting into the chat here. How's it going, everybody? And yeah, it was a pretty good episode. I think it was, if I look back just viscerally on this season, it's not as good as last season was. Or I would say, I don't know if it wasn't the best season, but it was still really damn good. Still really damn good. And yeah, poor Jimmy is messed up, Mary, but I do not feel any sympathy for him. And that's the hard part about this show is, we have a bunch of antagonists. Our only protagonist really is Kim. And Jimmy is really, she's got her own demons too, but being around Jimmy does not help any way, shape, or form. So, yeah, I don't know, but that was, Joe, thank you for the $2 super chat. Spoiler alert. It's all good. It's all good, man. It's all good, man. Yes. Holy shit. I mean, I knew Werner was dead from the get go. It was just a matter of when, but what really sealed his fate is him Lalo making contact with him. He was a dead man from that point. I think he still might have had a chance, but I'm not so sure. I thought Gus was just going to kill all the Germans when they were done. So I don't know. Never piss off Mike, says Joe. Nope. And Mike is one of my favorite characters, but again, I have no sympathy for him. He put a torch to his life too, and both Jimmy and Mike put torches to their life. Mike got rid of the support group. He had a friend there. He had a girl who was like flirting with him. Just completely bailed on this to go towards this life. To what end? To make sure that his daughter-in-law and granddaughter are taken care of for the rest of her life. Well, that's what Walter White tries to do in the end. And neither of that ends very well. I don't think the rest of the Germans made it out alive either. I think the story will involve a disastrous cave-in, etc. Yes. I was kind of surprised to not, we didn't get a resolution on that. Maybe we will next season. Like we'll get an offhanded comment. Is that where you buried the Germans? Once again, thank you for the super chat, Joe. It is truly appreciated. So we meet again, CD Horde. Yes, the hell are you? I need more Huckleberry in my life. Don't we all, Saquist? Helping Gary continue these reviews. Yes, well, this is my last one for Better Call Saul till next season. But we have a lot more TV reviews to come up, believe me. Joe got rid of all his mistakes too. How? Poor Jimmy, so messed up, which I read. Big Easter egg from Breaking Bad when Paulo is on the hill with the scope. So is the scene with all the high school students so is the scene with all the high school students a flashback or a flash forward? It was a flash. Well, I guess flashback, because this show is all a flashback. It's a flashback prequel, but that was in the timeline. The only flashback before was when Chuck was vouching for Jimmy. Was everything before the credits. Slippin' Jimmy is now Saul Goodman. Yeah, he really sucker punched Kim right in the crotch. He did, Jasper Seho. Cold-blooded. I mean, yeah, Jimmy's, he's an asshole. Deanna says, I'm stuck using Kindle until I get my new battery. Yep. Sometimes that happens. I got backups for my backups, but that shit gets expensive. Not the best finale, but overall top-notch season, especially for the entire cast. Acting chops, damn good. Gilligan and Gould are leading this nicely right into Breaking Bad. And we are definitely getting a season 5. So I that's funny. Hail Mary, Matt guy. I definitely think I was gonna say I definitely think we'll get a season 6, but I'm not so sure. What do you guys think? Do you think there's one more or 2 more seasons left in this? I think it'd be pushing it going 7, unless they're gonna do so. I don't know, because like even if you brought in early Walter White, he's just a teacher at that point, right? I think 2 more seasons, says Dina. I'm doing pretty good. It's all good to see you. Oh, what's up, Artemis over easy? So yeah, so I'm going to be doing something a little different with this video tonight. It's a little experiment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep the chat. So don't worry, the chat's going to stay in there, and I'm going to live record it, download it. I'm going to keep it up for a little while. Then I'm going to chop it up and edit some stuff into it, maybe some pictures of the show, stuff like that, and re-upload it as a video and see how that works. I'm going to see if that's something I can do, as long as I do it fast enough and not stay up till 3 o'clock in the morning. And it's only 9, so it gives me time to do that. I was fooled by Jimmy's false sincerity in front of the panel. So was Kim, apparently. John Hewlett Jr., so was I. And yes, I think they fooled the board, they fooled Kim, and they fooled the audience. I thought for a minute that, because they do that sometimes. They did that a lot, that Jimmy will, while he's going into a con, like has a sincere moment. But Jimmy's 2 sincere moments were him breaking down in the car and then him going completely fucking manic on that poor teenage girl. Sounds good. Yes. Did I say Lalo? I meant Paulo. Why did I say Lalo? Oh, you know what? I'm probably thinking of. I get friends' names mixed up. That's how it goes, man. That's how it goes. Or it's hang on. It's Lalo. Yes, Lalo Salamanca. See how I got it right? You guys got me questioning myself. Yes, Lalo Salamanca. They fooled everyone, says Mary Ashmead. Yes. Yes. Good night, Gary and friends. Artemis. Are you out? Hey, what's up, Movie Fanobi? I didn't even know you were in here. How's it going? Hope you guys like that Farscape review. That was fun. Would be awesome to see a season 5 episode 1 opened up with Walt in prison post Breaking Bad. Well, I mean, isn't he dead? But that would be awesome. It says Alex Reed. I did hear some scuttlebutt. I mean, we hear this stuff all the time, that they were seriously considering bringing it back for another season. There was a bunch of pining for that at the Comic-Con panel at the 10-year anniversary. But he's pretty dead. Lalo equals nickname for Eduardo in Spanish. Yeah, it's Eduardo Salamanca. Feisty, that Farscape stream was glorious. It was lots of fun. Yeah, he is dead. Saw himself in the interim, big time. Will Kim pay for her loyalty to Jimmy next season? Perhaps he gives her the Sandpiper money after she loses her license. Just speculating. Yeah, I think no, the way this show goes, man, I think on Kim's way out of town, she'll know something on Gus Salamanca or something like that, because Jimmy fucking tells her something, and then Gus will have her killed or something like that. Is that dark? Is that dark enough for you? Artemis, eat, drink, fuck, repeat. Not necessarily in that order. Okay, there you go. And that's everybody. There was never confirmation of his death, says Alex. No, we just didn't we just pan away? He like fell down and he was dying. He fell down, but they just panned away. I mean, I'm not sure, because I did not watch Breaking Bad. I watched the finale, but I don't remember it that much. I love the simplicity of things. Don't we all? Keep it simple, stupid. That's a great AA and NA saying, and just life saying. Walter White was really Loki, or says Matt S. Yes, right. All right. We're going to wrap this one up. Thank you all for joining me for Better Call Saul. This was just a weird indulgence for this channel because usually we do just a genre stuff, but it was a lot of fun covering the show with you regulars in here. I don't feel Saul can be so happy go lucky if Kim is killed by Jimmy's actions. John, I mean, his brother just died and he can just turn on that. I don't know if it's happy go lucky. I think it's a wall he has built around himself. So yeah, 10 years since Breaking Bad. Crazy, right? Dark would be Kim falling into a deep depression for helping create the monster Saul Goodman. Yes. Says Tagder Ent. Is it one word with the okay? Tagderente? Maybe. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. Lick that like button, everybody. Yes. So please go to nerdrotic.com for all of our live schedule. Our next show will be Man on the High Castle season 3 review tomorrow night. We're doing a manifest recorded video and a gifted recorded video. The only other shows we're going to probably do Doctor Who again on Sunday. And yeah, just pay attention to nerdrotic.com. There's a lot of shows coming out in the next few months, and we will be covering so many of them. So once again, thank you for the super chat, Joe. I do appreciate the $2 super chat. Thank you to all our wonderful patrons. And thank you to Jasper Seho, Tomcat, Artemis Over Easy, Matt Guy, Tag Durant, Mary Ashmead, Feisty Fan, John Hewlett Jr., Matt S., Movie Fanobi, Felipe Diaz. I already said Artemis Over, Matt Guy, Dina DeWall, NCA, and who else up there? Jack White from the White Stripes is here. Thank you for joining us. I know you're a busy musician, but thanks for being here, Jack White. And of course, that is it. He's got a cool Deadpool thing there. Right on. Deadpool avatar. All right. So everybody, for Better Call Saul fans, if you just watch us for that, see you next season. If you watch all of our stuff, you'll see another video from us in a couple of hours. So everybody, thank you again for being a part of this, and may the small folks sing songs of your greatness. Good night, everybody.